Hey everyone, welcome back to the Microsoft 365 Copilot Connection. My name is Nick Harris, and I am a Senior Copilot Cloud Solution Architect with Microsoft. Today, I want to navigate you through a very quick, useful video on how to leverage Microsoft 365 Copilot's vision capabilities. As you see here, we are currently in the web chat experience of Copilot. General note, this functionality is available for any person, whether you have a Microsoft 365 Copilot license or not. So, when it comes to the vision capabilities, you have the ability to upload pictures directly in your Copilot chat conversation, and this can be very useful, especially if you're troubleshooting something or just genuinely curious about your surroundings or what is happening within a scenario around you that it's very easy to take a picture of. So let's show you all a very quick example of leveraging these image capabilities. Now, as you see down here in the bottom right corner of my prompting box, I have the ability to add an image. If I click on this option, I can directly select my pictures from my File Explorer window, or if I have the picture copied, I can directly paste it into my prompting box. I've pasted my picture directly into my prompting box, and I can have Copilot describe this image to me. Now, as you see, very short, simple, and to the point. Specifically, this picture is of one of my fruit trees in my backyard, and in this fruit tree is a little bee. Just to show what this picture looks like a little bit closer up, you can see these are peach tree flowers, as well as there's a little bee here pollinating the flowers right in the middle. And if we look at Copilot's output, the image shows a close-up of a branch with pink flowers in bloom. A bee is perched on one of the flowers, likely collecting nectar or pollen. So you can have Copilot get fairly detailed in terms of what it directly sees with these built-in vision capabilities. Now, this may be more of a personal use case for myself, but what about a business scenario? Well, as a great example, within Microsoft, we have many different presentations that have very large and detailed architecture diagrams, and at times it's hard to either explain or understand what those diagrams mean. As a great example, when I talk to my customers about the Microsoft 365 Copilot architecture, there are times where I could just have Copilot provide that description instead. So let's take a picture of the current Copilot architecture we have on our public documentation and upload it into our chat conversation and have Copilot explain it to us. So as you see, I have the current Microsoft 365 Copilot architecture directly embedded within my chat conversation. I've taken a picture directly from the public-facing Microsoft 365 Copilot architecture documentation. Here is what that current architecture looks like. Now, for someone who may be new in terms of understanding Copilot and wanting to learn more about its inner workings, this is where you could directly take a picture and have Copilot ideate with you and provide you more detail and clarity around what exactly is going on. So within my prompt, you see I'm asking for 3 explanations at varying levels of knowledge and detail. The first explanation is a basic explanation, explaining the overall architecture, and this would correlate to someone who is a high school graduate level. We then have an intermediate explanation, and this would be an explanation of the architecture in more detail, aligned to someone that does have a general understanding of generative AI and Microsoft 365 Copilot that would directly correlate to a college graduate level. And then finally, we have an expert explanation, explaining the architecture in technical detail from an industry leading expert on AI, understanding generative AI solutions, and Microsoft 365 Copilot. This would correlate to someone who is an AI, data scientist or solutions architect. So as you can see here, when we look at the 3 different sections of information, varying from basic all the way through an expert explanation, looking at the basics starting off. The image directly shows how Microsoft 365 Copilot works. It starts with users and their devices using their various apps. The apps send information to Copilot, and the graph. The Copilot then uses the information using a big AI model from Azure OpenAI Service to help users by providing suggestions and completing tasks. We then go into our intermediate explanation, how it illustrates the architecture, shows the various usage of applications and services. They communicate with Copilot via the Graph API, which acts as a bridge to access user data like emails, files, chats, videos, etc. from your Microsoft 365 tenant. And then finally, we have our expert explanation. It depicts the integration architecture of Copilot within an enterprise environment. User interactions originate from various client applications, and then they access data through the Graph API. And you can see the language overall, it's more detailed. I could ask something along the lines of provide a detailed process flow indicating how Microsoft 365 Copilot and its architecture flows information through the backend system. This detailed process should be a step by step process in technical detail to provide me a deep understanding of how Copilot functions. And then we can see the step by step process flow. It all starts with your user interaction and how you directly leverage applications to connect to the Microsoft 365 Graph API to pull data from your Microsoft 365 tenant. That data is then retrieved, it is processed. The AI model directly is leveraged via Azure OpenAI services to understand that particular information. This is all part of a process where we find and provide the particular large language model data from your tenant without training the model. Very important, we don't train any of our foundation models with any customer data, all through response delivery and such. And we even see we have an example scenario at the very end that flows through the entirety of that process as well to make it easier to understand. So this is the way the overall vision capability works and a business use case to help you get started. I highly recommend taking pictures and see how Copilot can directly provide that information to you. So thank you all so much for your time as always. I hope this has been useful. We'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, everybody.